how AJ lost over $8,000 a month, $96,000 a year on a contract that he had going on. It wasn't his only source of income, but he lost that. And in the past, that would freak him the fuck out and throw him off his game and go into scarcity and doubt and fear. Hi, I'm Christopher Stubbs, founder of the Wolfpack, where we are leading men to higher levels of intimacy and higher levels of income. In this interview, we're going to talk about how AJ lost $96,000 in annual personal take-home pay and was able to stay grounded, present, pivot, and continue moving forward with momentum rather than shutting down, going into fear, doubt, scarcity, and getting his mind all fucked up so that he can just pivot and keep plowing forward and upward. It's fucking powerful. You're going to be glad you watched this. If you haven't joined us yet in our free community, check us out on Facebook, The Wolfpack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. I'll see you on the other side. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this call. Just finished a powerful call with the Wolfpack, and just so amazing what we're creating in Men of Sovereignty and the Wolfpack. I appreciate all of you who watch this either live or on the recording. I'm going to be following a little bit of a guide or outline here because I tend to jump down a lot of rabbit holes and get lost, and we have just over about 25 minutes to get in and out of this call. So good idea to have me have a little bit of some banks to my rivers because I flow a lot when I get rolling. So one of the things I want you to, that we're going to share with you is a topic. We're going to flow with whatever comes through, but one of the things we decided to center around is how AJ lost over $8,000 a month, $96,000 a year on a contract that he had going on. It wasn't his only source of income, but he lost that. And in the past, that would freak him the fuck out and throw him off his game and go into scarcity and doubt and fear. And through the work we've done together and the work that AJ's done on his own, he was able to roll with that, surrender to it, accept it, receive it, and just pivot, which allows him to stay centered and grounded and to move forward in creating that plus better. And so a very valuable tool and skill set and ability to have, or integration or way of being to have in your repertoire, so that no matter what happens in your life, whether it's a relationship struggle or a financial struggle or anything else that might arise, that you can navigate that with ease. It kind of goes along with the lines of, rather than praying for life or God to lessen your challenges, being able to pray for the strength to navigate them with ease and grace and to stay connected and inspired and flowing no matter what comes. And so invaluable. AJ, so grateful for you taking the time to hop on with me and share this. It blesses me because it shows the audience the impact we're having on people. My intention, AJ, is that it blesses you because people will see your magnificence, and I would love to give you an opportunity to share what you're up to so that those who feel drawn to work with you can go that route. And for the viewers, my intention is that this tremendously blesses your life and inspires you and empowers you with skills and tool sets and mindsets that will allow you to navigate whatever comes up in your life to be more and more unfuckwithable, more and more free, more and more empowered. That as you raise, as you're creating your kingdom and your world of your life of your highest choosing, that whatever bumps in the road come, that those serve to up-level you and further your growth, your freedom, your integration, your success, rather than take you out. AJ, anything you want to add to that basic part of the conversation?
No, I'm just excited here to be here with you, man. You've been a huge, huge pillar. And I use that word very specifically. You have been with me. And I do say with me through some just really hard, really intense shit. And I'm happy to get into any of that today. But you've been a huge pillar. And I've told you this before, and I'll tell everybody publicly. I don't know if I would be here without your support. Maybe God would have given me somebody else to guide me through some of the stuff that we've navigated. But for whatever reason, I feel like he gave me you, and I'm very grateful for you, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, brother. And I will fortify that by saying one of the things that propelled me forward into being able to empower men way better than I ever have after decades, both men and women, is AJ brought to the Men of Sovereignty a challenge that he called the Iron Mind Challenge. And it was simply a commitment to a certain amount of meditation and a certain duration for a certain time frequency, amount of times we do it per day, and how long in a certain format. And a bunch of us got in on that, and it changed the trajectory of my life. So he started off as someone that I knew on Facebook. He attended one of my live events many years ago. We hit it off immediately. We went to the Grand Canyon and we hiked out together side by side, sharing our heart of hearts in the deepest ways. And we've gone on to forge an ongoing relationship of friendship and collaboration and support. AJ, as you have also been a tremendous blessing in my life in so many ways and in the lives of all those in the Men of Sovereignty. So just deeply honor and appreciate and respect you at a very, very high level.
Thank you so much.
AJ has so much to add. Just a man that you can trust, a man that has high integrity, a man that leads with heart, a man that is very skilled, very intelligent, very grounded, very integrated, and of the highest caliber in my ranking system of men out there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And so later in the call, I want to give a moment for AJ to speak to what he does, so that if any of you feel called that are watching this, that feel called to work with AJ, I highly recommend it, because he's the real deal. There's a lot of people out there doing a lot of things, and not all of them care about you. They care about your money, and not all of them have the level of integration or skill set or knowledge or love or care that a man of AJ's caliber has. So if you're watching this and AJ's offering is more suited for you than mine, I highly encourage you to at least have a conversation with him and see if that's going to be of service to you. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about me and why you would want to listen to me. And then AJ, if you can briefly tell them a little bit about you and why they would want to listen to you, not in a bragging way, but just in a straight up, like, this is what I'm up to, this is what I do, and this is why. So for me, I'm founder of the Wolfpack. I'm founder of Men of Sovereignty. I've been coaching for about 19 years now, long before there was a coaching industry, long before you could find a coach on every corner of Facebook. I've gone deep, I've gone far, I've gone wide, I've gone high. And I've taken a whole, like a wholeness, what is it? A rounded approach, a whole approach.
A holistic approach.
That's the word I'm looking for. A holistic approach, studying leadership and marketing and sales and business and consciousness and shamanism and Native American stuff, and expanding my capacity for mental toughness and discipline by becoming an Ironman, and just a lot of things to energetically and emotional intelligence and communications and relationships. I'm an avid student of creating the best life that I can possibly live while having the best time that I can possibly have, while spiritually evolving to the highest place that I can possibly achieve, while assisting others to create lives that are holistic and whole and blessed tremendously. Just continually finding how to bless my life more and bless others' lives more, so that I can be of the greatest service to my loved ones and to the world. That's a little bit why you might want to listen to me. AJ, what about you?
For me, I've been coaching not as long as Christopher. Part of me feels like it's been a really long time. It's been 12 years, and 12 years in the internet world's like 40. I swear to God, it feels like 40.
Right?
And so I've learned a lot. I know a lot of about running digital launches. I have helped a lot of experts be able to scale their business to $1 million as an expert. So I understand digital marketing highly well. And I also know that the crucial thing to all of it, beyond the marketing mechanics, is personal power. And so when I say personal power, what I mean by that is it's like this potent blend of inner strength and unwavering confidence, and also your conscious ability to shape your world however you choose to shape your world, like you being a humble creator. And so when I say creator, I don't mean the creator. I mean a part of what, for me, my frame, the creator of your reality. There's a bit of a tension. So if you dance with me, I'm going to dance in paradoxes with you often. And so the whole point for me about personal power is helping people go beyond their limitations and ultimately just leave your unique mark on the world. And that's the thing that I've been obsessed with. It's been my journey. And I've been through a lot. I've been through cancer with my wife. I've been through not on the verge of bankruptcy, but pretty fucking close. I've been high, I've been low. I've spoken in front of thousands of people. I used to do music professionally. And so, like a phoenix, I have rose from the ashes over and over and over and over. And Christopher has been, like I said, a pillar in helping me rise when I've been against the wall and want to blow my brains out. So that's kind of what I've done. I've done for 12 years. I've helped all kinds of people, from people starting out to millionaires. I have lived and breathed and embodied, and I'm like obsessed basically with all things personal power. So I'm always pushing my own boundaries of what that is for me, whether it's medicine journeys, whether it's group work, whether it's events, whether it's meditation. So I'm always just kind of reaching, pushing my own edge and then reaching back and helping people from what I've experienced and lived, not something I've just read out of a book. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm just really on a mission to help as many people as possible remember who they are and just create the life that they feel like they're called to create, and do it with the people they want to do it with.
I love the congruency and the resonance and the similarities between us in those things that we each shared. And I think a part of what we do, AJ, is along those lines of don't pray for your burden to be less, pray for the strength to navigate it. That we help people get aligned with a life that is aligned with who they are and what they want. Then we help them stay the course and create it. And then as life brings those bumps in the road, we help them, rather than that sweeping them off their feet and sending them in a downward spiral where they're just taken out. It's about being less and less impacted by those bumps, and by recovering faster, and by even ultimately utilizing that energy that came at them in an Aikido way to actually fuel their success.
Yes.
Does that all feel resonant?
Yeah, 100%.
So AJ, if you just check in for a moment, even if you need to close your eyes and breathe and whatever, where were you at prior to participating in with me, whether it was Men of Sovereignty or even prior to that, where the viewer might be? So where the viewer might be, where you used to be and where you are now, can you give us a little taste of the things you've struggled with in the past that you've been able to overcome and create completely new results with?
So for me, I could go all the way back to 2018 when I reached out to you for like coming to Utah, and we ended up doing a journey. We could go there, but I feel like what's resonant is when I reached out to you and then I end up coming into Men of Sovereignty. So that would have been 2021. Yeah, it was in 21. And so my wife had just been diagnosed with cancer, and my default was like, it's fine, we got it. That's always my default challenge, or a response to a challenge is like, we're good. And then like the next day, it's like the inner storm that's been cultivated like comes. And then so I used all my tools to ninjutsu it and move the energy and be with the energy, but it was just a lot. And so I ended up reaching out to you, and I still remember what you told me. And so the root of I was being a victim. So let's just connect with the truth, right? Life happened. I felt like a victim. And so here we are, 2024. This is right now at the time of this going live. We're a little over 3 years, technically 4 years, I suppose, but 3 full years and 17 days into year number 4 since the whole world experienced a pandemic. So my experience has been a lot of people all around the world, not just here in America. A lot of people are feeling like a victim, whether it's a victim to health, whether it's a victim to marriage stuff, whether it's a victim to business, whether it's a victim to economic uncertainty or economic squeezing and crunching that a lot of business owners seem to be experiencing right now. And there's the opportunity to be a victim, just like I was being when I reached out to you. And by the way, when I'm saying this, I'm not saying this that it's a bad thing to be a victim. Being a victim is part of the beingness of being human. I haven't met a human yet who has escaped from this entire life without being a victim. So I think it's safe to say being a victim is part of the beingness of being human, right? So that's okay. So when I reached out to you, I was like, what do I do? And you took a deep breath and you're like, normally I'd give you empathy, but for you, and you just gave it to me straight, which is one thing I've always appreciated about you. And you had said some version of, look, I'm just going to give it to you. Your back's up against the wall. Life's really fucking hard. Your wife could die. She may get better and then die. She may get better and then be left in and then die, or die now. And then you're going to be left in $1 million of medical debt. She may get better and life is good. But the reality is your back is against the wall and you're going to have to dig fucking deep and you're going to have to go. And when you said that, somebody listening to this without the context of you and I's relationship, they're like, wow, that's really intense. That's really tough. I can't believe you'd say that. But for me, when you spoke it, I knew it was truth. What's the other option? Me be a little bitch? What's the other option? Me just like check out?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to live, then that requires a choice. Dig fucking deep, bury my feet into the sand, grab my balls and move the fuck forward. Right? Now, this has been a whole long journey for me to come to about what I'm going to say is I realized for 2 years, I kept playing this victim identity. There was times I'd be birthed out of it and then drop back in. I'd birth out of it and then drop back in. And it wasn't until just probably 3 weeks ago that I had this. Was it 3 weeks ago? It was about 3 weeks ago. I was reading Gene Key 54 when I had some friends over. They're like, hey, let's read the Gene Key 54. It's the gate this week, blah, 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 blah. I don't know all the stuff about Gene Keys. So I was like, okay. So my buddy Abe was sitting here in this office, laying right here on my PMF mat, and he was reading it. And I was reading it, and like it clicked for me. And at that point, Gate 54 was talking about going from greed, the shadow, to, I don't remember all of the words of Gene Keys, so just bear with me. So I'm going to use my own words. The shadow of greed to ultimately the bridge to aspire so that we can get to the light, the promised land, to ascension. And I realized something when I was reading this. I was like, wow, I've been greedy. And greediness has served me because it's helped me be materially successful. Like when I had a vision in 2009 that I wanted to be able to make 6 figures a year working from anywhere in the world with a laptop while traveling the world with a European wife, lo and behold, Christopher, do you know what I have in this day and age? All of that. I have every bit of that.
And more because of who you evolved to become in the process.
Yes, true. And so the greediness served me. And yet here I was going through my wife's stuff and all of this stuff, still feeling like, what's the point? What's the point of life? My wife has cancer. What's the point of making more money so we can buy more shit, so we can take more trips? Like, what's the fucking point of this? Suffering, 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 suffering. What's the fucking point of suffering? Even in the game of coaching, it's like, okay, here's a whole bunch of starfish that have washed up on the shore. And yes, for more than a decade, I've been the guy to reach down, pull one up, and throw it back into the water to the best of my ability, only to have the starfish wash back up on the fucking shore. All of this was my reticular activating system and my neurological wiring being like victim, 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 greedy, 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 greedy. All right. So do I keep playing that game? Well, when I saw like, what would it be like to aspire? Something dropped in for me and I realized, oh, so there's 6 human needs. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs. For those that don't know, we'll just kind of refresh them for a second. We have certainty, we have variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. My fastest path to get my need met, my need of significance and my need of certainty, play the victim. Play the fucking victim. It's a lot safer. Because at least if I'm a victim, I can feel all angry and beat my chest like a gorilla. And now I feel at least a sense of control and certainty. Now, granted, it's greedy. Granted, it's rooted in the shadow. Granted, it's helped me on the spiritual journey that I'm talking about for a second. But I feel significant. But the moment I stop doing this, then I don't feel significant. And it's just a fucking loop. So then there was a choice. Do I allow myself to continue choosing to be the victim because it's the surest way that for so many years, I learned how to get my needs met of significance and certainty? Because in the upbringing I grew up in, which I'm not going to go into that right now because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I felt insignificant internally.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my coping mechanism was to become a high achieving producer,
Mm-hmm.
there was a gap between how the market or the world perceived me and how I perceived myself to be. And the only way that I knew how to do this with my conditioning was be the victim. So once I chose to aspire to something beyond that, then something else was possible, which was, well, what if I just chose to be of service?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me being selfish and being greedy to fuel my hole of significance and contribution and certainty, I know what that gets me. What if I have enough courage to just let that go so that there's a new possibility, which is I can aspire to be of service? Now, here's what I'm finding on the other side of this: the same needs are met: contribution, significance, connection, certainty, uncertainty, a fuck ton of uncertainty. All of my needs are being met, but this time it's not from the shadow of greed. It's letting it go. Not, and again, notice I'm not saying being greedy was a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've coached so many amazing human beings who lived in a place of resistance of I don't want to be greedy. And Christopher, you probably have spoken to many of these people as well. These
Yep.
people who resist the possibility of being greedy, what happens to these people?
They become greedy.
Well, not only they become greedy, they become fucking broke.
Yep.
The people who are willing to be greedy, they get what they want.
And the
They
ability
get
to
what
not
is
be,
theirs.
and the ability to not be greedy.
And the ability not to be greedy if they choose to transcend the greediness.
Yep.
Some do, some don't.
Yep.
So we're talking a little bit about materialistic pursuits, and we're also dancing a little bit here on a little bit of the soulful spiritual journey as well, right?
Yep.
One where like it's okay to be greedy to get your material needs met in this flesh sack, right? You don't have to, it's an opportunity. Or we could also choose to transcend that and aspire to be something more. And it's like, well, what is the more to be? I'll have you consider the more to something to be is just fucking you.
Mm-hmm.
In all of your delicious flavors and all the ways that you want to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably vastly different than me and Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the gift. And when you get this, you can see that you don't have to be greedy. You can let it go, not live in resistance, because what you resist persists. So if I'm resisting, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. I'm telling you, you're going to be broke. So you might as well embrace the spectrum. I have the possibility and the potentiality to be greedy. I have the potentiality of being at service. I have the complete potentiality to set this world on fire and destroy it, just like you do. And I have the potentiality in me to also be of service and completely help as many human beings as I possibly can along the way. Knowing with exact humility that, of course, I'm not going to relieve all suffering. I'm just going to do my part, to do my part, to do my part. And that's about all I can do, because alleviating suffering is just another shame response where I'm trying to be bigger than I am. I'm just a limited human being, but I'm also unlimited in this thing that we call the soul that's kind of in this vessel, just like it is for you. So this is where I'm at, Christopher. Long-winded response of how I got started in Men of Sovereignty and the fruit that it's yielded for me thus far.
So
that makes sense, because I feel like I rabbit holed a lot.
that was powerful. It was beautiful, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Thank you for all of that. If we make this now, let's take this down to 3D world. If you were to tell us on a 3D level, so you dealt with those struggles, you're obviously speaking from a very high, deep, integrated space after years and years of work. And if we dialed this down to the simple nuts and bolts of what the listener may be experiencing, as far as like their prison, their paradise, their current struggle, and their desired outcomes. And you shared from your heart those just like bullet points of struggles you had previous to all this, and blessings you're enjoying now. Would you speak to that from like a bullet point / 3D super 5th grade level thing?
So fruits I'm enjoying now. Number one, realizing the only thing I have control over is my response to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if life is intense for you right now, it's okay. I'm not negating it. It's intense. Or maybe it's not intense. Maybe it's just a little difficult. There's varying degrees on the scale of intensity. Believing that you have control over it is nonsense. Knowing that you have control over your response is wisdom. And so that's one of the fruits of this is so anytime my wife and I, if we have an argument, we're humans, we argue at times. A lot less than we used to. That's another fruit, way less than we used to. Had months and months, which is deep connection. Knowing that still, even in that, I don't have to take it personal, even though my mind would like to, right? It wants to play the victim and it wants to feel certain, and that's its go-to little drug, if we will. I can choose to discipline my mind and I can choose differently. How would I choose if I was being loving? That's an opportunity. Same thing with my daughter. There's times when it's difficult and it's hard and it's intense. And I could try to dominate and control, or I could choose, well, how can I connect? How can I respond to this moment? Right. So the fruits of what we're talking about here today, about stop choosing to be greedy and ultimately let that go so you can aspire to ascend to something greater, is I have found when I'm a child, being willing to have an identity as I'll say a child of God or a child of the divine or a relationship with that which is beyond me, and truly seek a relationship through meditation, through like the genuine ancient principles of meditation, not just guided meditation. Again, there's nothing wrong with guided meditation, but there is some true scientific principles that Christopher and I can point you to if you want to go down that path. And I'm not the one here to teach you that information at all. I'm very clear on that. But the reality is, and Christopher has talked about this before, maybe you've talked about it live, I don't know, that the mind is a terrible master, but it's a really good servant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we can control. We can control this. We can't control what thoughts we think. Well, we can't control what thoughts enter, but we can control what thoughts we think.
Mm-hmm.
We can't control what emotions enter because, some could say pressure loop. I have thoughts that triggers emotions. Emotions trigger thoughts, pressure loop. I'm on a little bit different, maybe of a belief system, which yes, that exists. And pretty darn certain, and science points to this, that this body, this little meat sack, hold on to memory. And sometimes I think maybe it just lets some shit go every now and then that stirs up some emotion without even thoughts happening. Seems to happen for me. But I'm still the feeler of those emotions. I'm still choosing how I choose to respond, whether I'm resisting, whether I'm indulging, whether I'm finding that straight and narrow. And the fruit for me is going from a place of realizing I used to resist being a lot of things, and then I came home to the possibility of being the entire spectrum, which opened up my heart to connect at a deep level with any human being I've ever encountered, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, to a place where I became sovereign, meaning what is it I choose? No right or wrong. What is it I choose based upon my value hierarchy, and how do I choose to be in integrity and in unconditional love with that value hierarchy of mine? To now coming into a place of servitude, just doing my best to be a servant. That's kind of been the fruit, man.
Beautiful. Is your health thriving?
Yeah, my health is very much thriving. I'm working out 5 days a week. I'm not going to say it's effortless because I have to put forth effort, but but it is a bit effortless. And that doesn't mean that I don't, there's days that where my mind doesn't want to do it. So for instance, my commitment to myself this year was 5 days of workouts for an entire year. And then also getting up at 5:30 and meditating for 40 minutes for an entire year. And if I ever missed a day, then I have to start my commitment all over again. And I've done this before. So I'm not like casting this big thing and pie in the sky thing. This has actually been a stair step for me.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to, I think it was 2 years ago, inside of Men of Sovereignty, one of my fitness commitment was just doing X3. I think it was 3 days a week for an entire year. And I did it. And all of the other guys in my little accountability group, not part of Men of Sovereignty, a different accountability group I had, they were like, we're going to do that. And we're going to go carnivore and we're going to fast. And I was like, fuck, you guys are committed to all of that for the year? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to be a loser, I guess, and just commit to
The only one that followed through.
I was the only one who followed through. I was the one who lost weight and got into shape for the whole year. And it taught me a very valuable lesson
Yeah.
is how deep my shame wanted to look out there to compare. And then that's just the mind thing. And really how it's just like, just baby step it, just consistent baby step progress.
Yes,
So I did that for a whole year, and then that stretched my capacity. And that's why this year I'm like, I can do 5 days. I've been meditating for a long time now, so I can totally do twice a day for a full year with a 30-minute minimum, but a 40-minute in the morning and a 30-minute minimum in the evening. And often I do 40 minutes, but come hell or high water, it's that commitment, like it's done, like when you ran Ironman before you became an Ironman, that decision in you of I'm an Ironman, you bought the race. And then I don't remember if it was 6 months or 8 months out when you bought the race, but you then had to go on that journey. Right. And it was but that internal decision was already done in you. Right. Yeah. So that's been the fruit. So yes, my body feels good.
Vibrant health, relationship thriving.
The relationship's thriving to a degree that it's been better than ever. And Sarah's working through some inner stuff that she's going through right now. And I'm really proud of myself because the old me would have totally got caught up in codependent patterns. Codependent meaning, for those that don't know, if you're at the very root, if you're not okay, I'm not okay, right? That's codependency. And there's different flavors of that. And I find this a lot in committed relationships and relationships at large. It's like, well, if you're not okay, then I'm not okay in here. So you need to be different so I can be different, or you need to be like, that's all this codependency drama stuff. And it's normal, natural, not negating it. Old me would have been totally, as she's kind of going through her own inner growth stuff right now. This version of me is just watching it, ninjutsuing the stuff when my mind wants to take it personal, breathing, transmuting it, and just I feel like I'm showing up a deeper way of being like a lover and learning how to be a lover in a way that I've never been before. Because being a lover for me, I have no clue. My father did he love my mom? Maybe. I don't know. Did he take her on date nights? Fuck no. Was he Rico Suave? Fuck no. So like I'm having to like learn without training wheels on some of this stuff. And my grandfather as well. Both great men, both really good men, both really have hearts of serving, but we're talking about a specific archetype. Were they a lover?
Yes.
They weren't this Rico Suave lover. And my propensity is I'm not either. And I'm learning what does that even mean? Does that even mean to be this teenage Rico Suave thing, or is it something different? I have no idea how I got balloons. And so, yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now in relationship to marriage.
Thank you for sharing. So finances, old experience, new experience.
Old experience would have been my identity is tied to the ups and downs of the business, meaning if the business is up, then my spirit is up. If the business is down, then my spirit is down. My new identity is the business has its own thing. And so right now, because I just lost out on $96,000 worth of contract work just like a week before Christmas, it's the 17th of January. And in the pipeline, I have a $30,000 deal that should pay out by the end of February. I have a potential $5,000 thing I'm talking about here in another 5 or 10 minutes when we get off of this. I have another opportunity potentially to start coaching some UFC fighters. I have a friend of mine kind of working on the biz dev side of things. So I have lots of things that are in motion and putting in the pipeline. And there's this knowing of like, it is done. And here's a funny thing that is relevant to this. I was praying the other day. It was actually yesterday. I was praying because our bank account was getting a little tight, and all of our needs are completely met. We're building a tiny home in the back, and we have a house, and we have land, and we just have a lot of shit.
You're also getting residual income streams that are opening up.
Exactly. And so I was praying, and I was telling God, I was like, God, man, you got to provide like at least 10 grand by the end of this month. And I'm doing what I can. Could I do more? Potentially, yeah, I could do more. And you got to get this done. And that day when I came home, I dropped my daughter off school. I came home and my wife's like, hey, we checked the mailbox. Boom. There was a check that took care of all of the needs. And then boom, this opportunity arrived. So for me, I chose to use that as evidence as like, oh, thank you. And then there was like, oh, thank you. Now here's the crazy thing. Cause I'm gonna land this principle to make it like practical, because it's not just like praying. And I actually learned this from Yogananda. praying isn't like this beggar identity. It's like, oh, God, outside of me, please. Right. It's like, if I look at my daughter's 5. And my wife's from Romania. And so in Romania for breakfast, they just have like salamis and breads and cheeses and pig fats and, you know, all this good breakfast stuff, right? Not like cereal like I grew up with. And so my daughter's used to having what she calls a plate, meaning like salamis and cheeses and fruits and crackers and like this plate. And so I'm the one who makes breakfast in the morning for my daughter. There's a part of me that fucking hates these plates because they're quite a bit of effort to get up and make these fucking plates. And my daughter, every morning, most of every morning, if I don't have it done before she wakes up, she's like, Dad, make me a plate. Now, part of me is a bit triggered, if I'm really honest with you, because I'm like, is there any respect in this? You're entitled enough to think that you just, Dad, make me a plate. And it's kind of worked through that conditioning, I've realized she's not meaning to attack me or anything. And what a beautiful way this is to relate. And it's been a great lesson for me and what I'll call Father God, Mother God, this thing that pervades all things. And I'm not saying it's this outside me, it's the thing that's in all of it. Is, can I have a relationship that is so deep that I can say, God, make me a plate, knowing full well that plate's going to show up. And this is prayer, right? This is the ancient terminology, the ancient definition, the ancient ways of praying. It wasn't praying as a beggar. It wasn't praying as a victim. It was a decree. It was a prayer because there was a relationship. There's mutual trust and respect. And my daughter has mutual trust and respect where she knows, Dad, make me a plate. She knows he's hungry. Dad's going to provide some food, or Mom's going to provide some food. So why wouldn't I, if I had the same relationship with this God beyond me, why couldn't that exist for me too? If I can show up, if I'm willing to put in the work to deepen the relationship, let's not forget that piece. Yes. But if I'm deepening the relationship, why would I not be able to say, make me a plate, and then the plate appears?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So finances, you're more stable than ever internally, which automatically matches outside, and more different types of revenues. And it's an evolution, but you're stable inside, which is the key.
Yep. I'm very stable outside, and we still
same health, same with health. Yeah. Sounds like relationships and parenting and spirituality. Are you more connected spiritually than ever before in an integrated way?
I 100% feel more spiritually connected than I ever have in my life, for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother. Any last words you want to share before I do a little outro here?
Only last words I have is just to remember, whatever you're creating, whatever you're going through, you have nothing to prove or defend. Not to yourself, not to your wife, not to your husband, not to your daughter, not to your parents, not even to God. You have nothing to prove or defend. You are completely worthy and deserving simply because you exist. And if you can come home to that truth, not just as a concept, but as an experience, from that place, you can create whatever it is you're called to.
Such a beautiful message. So many beautiful messages you've shared today, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for those of you watching the recording, thank you for joining us. AJ is one of my all-time favorite humans. You can tell that he's gone to very deep places and done very tremendous levels of work. He is a beautiful example of a man evolving into the greatest version of himself every day. And I know him as a man who's committed to continuing to do that ongoing, as am I. Students of life, students of all of it, right? And so it's been such an honor, AJ. For those of you watching, though, I'll share my future vision. And I imagine AJ's has got some similarities and some differences. But my intent in bringing AJ on is to further my purpose in blessing those that choose to be committed in ever evolving into the greatest version of themselves, creating the best life for themselves and their loved ones possible, and helping as many others as possible to do the same. And that we create lives where, I saw some stats this morning from one of my copywriters that by the year, I only read them once, so I'm not going to do a great job, but by the year 2026, I think it was, the rate of change will be 10 times higher than it is today. And by the year 2040 or something, it's like 100 times higher. And so we're up against a time with politics and AI and all the things that are going on where change is, we're going to have to be able to pivot and stay in center at a greater capacity than ever before. And it's my desire to leave a world for my children that I'm glad I left that world for them. That's what I'm up to. I believe AJ is very much congruent with that, however his flavor is. And so we're helping men and clients, women in different offerings, to become their greatest version of themselves, thrive in their health, their spirituality, their finances, their relationships, and to be able to navigate whatever arises from a place of power, clarity, and inspiration, to be able to, through the guidance of God, through the connection with inspiration and the integration of the greatest version of themselves, navigate whatever may come and pivot as needed to live lives of service and to provide communities and a lifestyle and experience for our children, our wives, our brothers, our loved ones, where we don't worry about like the times of old plus better, meaning like when the kids could play out till the streetlights came on and come home. My future vision is that my kids could go out any time of day, and if they were gone for all day or a couple days, that the people that live around me and the world that I live in, that just like the Tarahumara Indians that I visited in Mexico, they let their children at the age of 5, if they go wandering and they're back within 2 days, parents are fine. That's what they have existing in their reality. And I'm creating a reality for myself, my family, my loved ones, and helping others to do the same. And I hope you join us. If you watch this and you're not a part of the Wolfpack community, please join it. It's a free resource to help us all evolve into the greatest versions of ourselves and create a world that our children, that will be glad our children are inheriting. And if you are inspired by what AJ shared with us today and feel a resonance with him, please reach out, friend him, message him. And if you feel deeply drawn to having him assist you, ask him, connect, talk it through, see if it's a fit. So thank you, AJ. Thank you, viewers. Have an amazing rest of the day. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview and extracted the value from the conversation that we shared. I will be having additional conversations with members of the Wolfpack where they share their insights and their learning and their growth, their breakthroughs, their successes. And we share these in an effort to help you glean from them to fuel your own success. And if you haven't joined us in our free community, join us on Facebook, the Wolfpack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. We'll see you there.